Returning from a week break, America's home for racing plays host to the ABN Champ Car World Series. This is the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's the Grand Prix of Charlotte, and it's time to take back to the twists and turns. It's not an oval, it's not a road course. This is the Roval, one of the most unique circuits on the entire schedule in 2024, and as it stands, over 25 drivers have registered just minutes away from open qualifying to see who can take to the top of the board in our very first Roval event of the season. I'm David Kreutz here on ABN alongside Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills, and we're getting ready to lead you through all of tonight's action. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow the channel, as we're just a few followers away from 1,000 here on ABN Esports. And as we get things going here in Charlotte, the drivers are still taking practice laps. You'll see many of which are going to be on pit road. The fastest driver so far, Emma Kruger, in the number 70, going to be right now on pit road with a quick time, a 104.092. There's still a lot of these drivers trying to get their best laps in right now, and there's a lot of cloud cover here in Charlotte today. Might contribute to some quicker times. Compound swaps, pit strategy, no full course yellows. It's going to be a lot on that long run strategy as the race goes on. So how about we get to that first off? What's it going to take to have that ability to maintain your speed and your racing prowess from start to finish?
I mean, consistency, I think, is the main thing here. I like to think of this track more of a street circuit than you might think. That the very tight section in turns 1 and 2 especially. Like, you really need to have your wits about you, and yeah, I think drivers should be treating it as such. So, ultimate pace, obviously very important in qualifying. Quite a narrow track, can be quite hard to overtake, so getting that track position before the race, very important. But once you get into the race session, it's a long race, 49 laps, 2 stops, and it's just going to be about keeping the car in one piece and running pace you're comfortable with to hold on to it and not put yourself in any risk, I think.
It's going to be all about comfort here in Charlotte as drivers are still getting ready. The fast times are showing 104s at the low range right now, so nobody going to be touching the all-time track record here in our Champ Car World Series. However, still definitely very competitive times. We're getting close to having our 28 car maximum before we see drivers getting knocked out in qualifying. It's going to be an open qualifying session, so you do not have the opportunity to take to the track yourself. You've got to race around drivers from start to finish, so it's going to be a real learning process from beginning to end. I think it's going to add to the challenge today for a lot of these drivers who are already on the circuit, because every lap you're going to be surrounded by people no matter where you go, no matter where you are on the circuit in terms of position. From start to finish, you're most likely not going to be alone, and that's going to be another tricky aspect as this race progresses.
Yeah, we're used to seeing the Cup car carnage that happens on the Charlotte Roval, obviously one of the rounds leading into the playoffs. A lot of door banging all the way through those races, but obviously we're not in Cup cars today. We're driving around Charlotte Roval in some high downforce single-seaters that don't quite have the ability to properly go side by side like those stock cars, or that one-time GT-only IMSA race back in 2021, which was equally full of carnage. I think if we're going to see some overtakes today, they're going to be right on the edge of grip, very risky, bit down the inside stands, because there's not a lot of places you can set up. But I think one of the favourite overtaking spots today is going to be some cutback action on the infield, or a bit of a dive into, honestly, one of the trickiest chicanes in motorsport.
I mean, you say that, to be fair. I do remember a clip from back in Season 2 where Christina Ryan sent it 3 wide into the backstretch chicane and made it stick. So maybe not some brave drivers here, but that back then we had fast pairs. You could afford to be a little bit risky. You've got to be sensible, I think, with a race this long and with no spare car to bail you out.
With 49 laps on the table, as you mentioned, there is no stopping. The brakes, minimal if any. We're not expecting to see full course yellows. You got pit stops in the between, but that's all you've got as a saving grace. Emma Kruger going to be fastest in the timing charts with a 104.092, and that's going to be a perfect way to segue into group qualifying. Every driver going to be out there on the circuit, giving it their all, and it's time to find out how, for the first time, tire strategy works out here in Charlotte. Compounds, keep those in mind. And you got to see with 20 minutes, when's the best time to get that quick lap in? Qualifying coming at you from the virtual Charlotte Roval. And it looks like now drivers are set to get on the way. First of which is going to be Tucker Sawyer as we watch on board with the number 19. Sawyer gets on the move and is looking to recover after the night that we saw at Texas and immediately going to shred the car up. And that's fine for now, of course, because you can go back to pit row. But is that with the race? That might as well be it from the start.
Well, he's got to limp it back to pit road here. Rules in the Champ Car Series, you are not allowed to use a tow in qualifying. If you do that, that is your session. If you can bring it back to pit lane, then you can get a fresh car, but that's a really unfortunate mistake to make early in qualifying. And of course, the main advantage of this format is these cars are full of fuel, and it's trying to reward consistency, getting those laps in and keeping your car in one piece so you can burn it off, and at the end of the session set an absolute flyer with an empty tank. Even if Tucker brings us back to pit lane, he'll have to reset the car there, and we'll be on the back foot for the rest of the session, really.
Yeah, these are things we're going to have to look out for tonight, folks. We're going to have a look at cars on cold tyres coming out the pits. It's only going to be, as we say, a couple of times tonight, but off the start of the race, out of pit lane, those rears are going to be absolutely stone cold. No tyre blankets here in Champ Car competition, so it's going to be who can get out of pit lane safest and get those tyres up to temperature quickest. Fortunately, those red round rubbery things do hold up quite well here at Charlotte. As much as there is a bit of an assault in terms of corners, you do have plenty of time on the quote-unquote back straight and then round the banking at 3 and 4 to cool them off a little bit and get them back into a more manageable window. So feeling like we won't see much of the primary compound tyre tonight here.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to mention is you talked about the rears being very cold and perhaps lead to spins. From my experience here back in Season 3, you're worrying about the front tyres just as much. On that pit exit, it feeds you right into the outside line of Turn 3, and I had to run the final stint of that race with a damaged front wing because I just understeered into that wall. Luckily, just wind damage, but that was a long stint. Drivers have to watch out for that tonight.
Yeah, there's a reason they're there is obviously driver safety and track marshal safety, being able to get those cars off the circuit where we can. But at the end of the day, concrete walls aren't exactly your best friend if you're running anywhere near them. Well, they're fine to run near, but you don't want to be heading towards them at 100 kilometers an hour.
Just gotten qualifying going. We saw that first incident, but for the most part, other drivers have been able to take at least a lap or two cleanly. Austin Farr to the top of the board, and coming after, of course, the success in Texas, looking to back it up. Already with a 104.9, the first driver to crash into that threshold, so to speak, and it was all about avoiding the crash in the final lap with Hamilton Akabuzi, which gave way to Austin Farr's big breakout victory in Texas there. That was a big deal, of course. Everyone was expecting Akabuzi to try and hold on, and I'll say this much, he did until the very, very end, and there's nothing you can do on that final turn. With the high speeds of the ovals, it's almost inevitable at times, but that's one thing about this Roval that sometimes gives way a bit different, because you don't end up barreling immediately into the front stretch as you would at, say, for instance, Daytona. Instead, you got that final chicane that sets yourself up for the start-finish line once again, and with that being said, it's a much slower corner, so it's a little more egregious if you send it in there and you really can't give way by saying it's an accident. You see how it's going to be Austin Farr pulling away from Bryce Saucier right there? He's going to clearly do so, and at the line, that's a 104.138 in practice's quickest. This time by, it looks like that was not a validated lap. Sophie Connell going to be second on the board with Bruce Silva in third, and it looks like it's going to be Craig Forsyth position number 7 as we reorder them. Still drivers coming around and taking top times. Emma Kruger goes up to the top. That's a 104.222.
Wow.
It's an impressive lap for the fuel loads that these cars are running right now. We saw those 104s come out in practice, but we didn't know if those cars had burned off fuel by that point or were maybe using push to pass. To put a 104.2 at this stage of the session is really impressive, and I do think we will see quality times dip into the 103s at this rate, especially from Emma. I mean, a fantastic driver. We've not had a chance to talk about her so far this season, making the first race start after rescheduling some classes, but last time we came here, lapped the field.
I think it may be a little bit too late to start talking about picks in the session, but as became tradition at the last round, I'd like to bring it back and go through who we think is going to win the race today. And I think I'm going to pass it over to you first, Olivia. I want to hear your pick.
Yeah, it's Emma. we did talk about this a bit before I went on air, but I think when you have a result leading in as strong as that, of course the season 3 champion and quite a road course heavy schedule, and really only improving ever since. You know, still a very young driver, making leaps at every race. I think she's a very sensible pick here. Already with that quality time, putting herself in a good position, even if that's as far as it goes in this session.
David,
you, Taylor?
No, I'm passing it to David first. I want to go last. Save the best till last. David, who's your pick for this evening?
I think tonight I'm taking Rudy Valentine. At this point is 9th right now in terms of the qualifying lineup. I think there's still a lot of room to improve. I mean, we have 13 minutes left. I'm taking Rudy. I've seen the way he's driven firsthand inside the cockpit of these Champ Car machines before. And, of course, we saw him work at Watkins Glen. Ended up, of course, catching up with some misfortune early, but definitely has the speed to contend for a victory here at the road course. And I think with the compound swap, it's also going to help him out. You see, Rudy's running on the primaries right now, so looking to benefit in the future as opposed to really using everything right now. I think that's going to be a really important piece of the puzzle, and if you can stay up there in the top 10 for the time being, it's going to be a big deal if we see Rudy keep moving up as the race goes on. So with that being said, we've only got one more pick to announce. Let's save the best for last and find out what that's all about.
So we've been watching them race in all 3 of the rounds this season, and they've had fantastic pace in each race. And I think in a couple of the races were actually one of our biggest movers, particularly at Watkins Glen. I think I've dropped enough hints. Currently sat P4 at the moment, car number 69. I think Sophie Connell's going to take the victory tonight at the Charlotte Roval. Again, just that fantastic pace, brilliant racecraft. As long as they can keep their qualifying as high as it currently is, I think we're going to see a really, really good result from them tonight.
Very solid pick. I mean, the main question mark for Sophie was the qualifying record. Had a unfortunate incident at Watkins Glen that made them start at the back, and still trying to P6. With that P4 starting position, I think this could be a very different race indeed. Yeah, I would like to mention though, I already commentated cursed Emma. While we were giving those picks, Emma tagged the wall coming back onto the oval and had to take a car reset in the pits. So back full of fuel she goes, unfortunately.
All I can say is I don't think I've managed to commentate as cursed someone yet, so go Sophie.
And also, I mentioned Tucker, who we saw at the very start of the session make a mistake and have to take a car reset, already up to P2. So has bounced back from that very well. Has a 104.8 on the board, and I'm sure will. Ooh.
Sorry,
I won't say anything. Actually, I won't say anything.
Just following Lily Fraser for a second there. On the primary compound tyres, getting the back end out quite wildly on the exit of turn 13. The back straight chicane could have been an incident with the wall, but fortunately she has kept it going as she doors the wall coming out of the final chicane.
Now we're watching, and we'll see if there's any more mistakes. Of course, we do have an opportunity to reset these champ cars if you can get down a pit road. Right now at 19th, I don't think it's really indicative of Lily's pace as we've seen this season, so I'm expecting a few more spots to be gained. 26 in the session, so I don't think we're going to be seeing knockout qualifying unless a few people join at the last second here, and 22 of which taken times going back to Brandon Cruz. And we were told a little funny anecdote about Brandon's preparation for this race. And and unfortunately, it's going to set him back, of course, because here in iRacing, there's multiple versions of the Charlotte Roval. The one we're using is the more current one. That's the one they've been using since 2019 in the NASCAR Cup Series, etc. However, Brandon was practicing on the 2018 version, and the front stretch chicane is the same, but the back stretch is basically full throttle, which means that's several seconds difference every lap, and that's a big deal because that backstretch chicane is make or break for the rest of the race. You can see right now as we go for our aerial shot, it's an actual chicane. It's not a slight bend, it's a real turn. I don't know how it's going to play out for Brandon. I mean, he's right now 22nd.
Just to cut in for a second, guys. Bryce Saucier has had a small incident with the wall and is currently rolling around without a front right wheel on. Of course, as Olivia mentioned earlier, you can't tow in qualifying because that counts as a retirement. But as long as Bryce can get this car back to the pit lane, he's going to be able to get a new car and get back out there for the final 10 minutes. But a little bit of late session drama for car number 07.
All this mid-session drama at this point. There's still 10 minutes left.
Oh, we love a bit of mid-session drama. Speaking of, there's been a bit of reshuffling at the top of the table. Austin Farr has gone up to third place, or improved their position to third place. This is Nick Pressey takes P4 off Sophie Connell. But Bruce Silver has improved to a 104.651. But that's still 4/10 of a second off Emma Kruger. This is a 64-second lap. 4/10 of a second is forever. Where are they going to be finding that pace?
I'm not surprised by that at all, to be honest. It's Emma. If you've not seen Emma, now you're seeing Emma.
Nobody's come close in the session, and I don't think at this point anyone is going to, at least for the time being. You look how Emma's got the alternates right now on that number 70. Bruce Silva does as well. Austin Farr looks to be on the primaries. Is that the case? We're going to get a better angle here. Yes, so Austin Farr is on primaries. Nicholas Pressey's on the Reds. Sophie Connell looks to be on the Reds as well. Tucker Sawyer, we don't have a look at that number 19. But of all those up in front, I think the only one we can clearly confirm is off of the Reds is Austin Farr. And Farr is going to jump up the second there, but still 4/10 of a second back exactly here. So really nothing that can be done. But maybe Farr's got a little more pace than we are led on to believe. He's not taking the Reds just yet. So a bit of a disadvantage in terms of putting down that fast lap so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're outside pole on the primaries, well, why bother with the Reds? That is really an incredible lap. We were talking about how the alternate tires were very strong here. There's not too much high speed, so the mechanical grip of the alts is very helpful, and it also helps them to survive the stint a lot better. But if you start the race on the primes, you're going to be a little bit vulnerable on the start. But if you can get through that opening phase, that just means you can run 2 stints on the alt to the finish, and that could be the edge. That I think we might be seeing a bit of a preview of what we could see as a strategy battle for the win here, potentially.
You know, for a second there, I was about to start saying, Olivia, what do you mean there's hardly any high-speed corners here? The entire middle sector is high-speed. But realised that could start a huge tangent as to what constitutes which style of corner, and then we're going to be asking what counts as the chicane, and that conversation never ends nicely.
I mean, plus you gotta ask how many corners is the banking.
No, we're not. We're not doing this. We're not doing American corner numbering because it is one of the. You know, no, we're not going. We're not going there. We're not having this conversation today. David, do you have a defense for American corner numbering?
The American corner numbering, we're saying it's 2 turns per section of banking.
Oh, no, honestly, right. Oval corner numbering absolutely makes sense. I am fine with that, especially at things like super speedways where you've got these massive long corners. If someone says there's a wreck in 2, somewhere like Daytona, that's like a 3/4 of a mile section of track you've got to be looking out for an incident for. But when it comes to the likes of Road America and Road Atlanta, there are 3 corners between turns 4 and 5 at Road Atlanta. It makes no sense, but that's it. We're leaving it there because no, we can't. Because I will put together a PowerPoint presentation and then we're just done. No.
I'm going to save us from this. Carmen Sienna jumps to P12 in the standings with that lap, moving on the alternate tyre.
good improvement from Carmen. Looking forward to seeing what sort of pace she has today.
He loves this place.
She holds the overall ABN lap record here. Not technically a illegal record, probably with a little bit of tomfoolery, but still a really impressive lap. Wow. Emma Kruger just cutting in front of Nick Pressey there, coming out of who was coming out of pit exit. Emma on a lap and was actually purple in the final sector last time round. So let's keep an eye on her and see what sort of lap she can put down.
Yeah, starting to burn that fuel back off. Again, still got to keep the car clean. We did see a mistake from her a little bit earlier, but yeah, currently a 104.2, the fastest time, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that tip down if she can keep this car in one piece, and especially spots on a new set of alternate tyres for the final run. I think a 103 is definitely possible.
And we're watching on board right now to find out whether or not that's the case. You can see working through the gears up to 6th nearly, but not going to make the move up there till very late, using every inch of the track and eating the curbs. At the line, this might be the biggest lap yet. It is a 104 on our charts, so it looks like still some room to improve. That's how quick that very first hot lap was, because a 104.7 would still be about 5th in the charts if Emma's top time was not validated.
Yeah, it's great camera angle down here as well, looking just over the left shoulder of the driver. You can see how much they're playing with that wheel, trying to keep the car in check, but saying that, not a lot of drama or wild movements from Emma. She's keeping it super duper smooth in that middle section, which is so important for lap time. So the less you move from that wheel, the less tyre scrubbing you're going to get, and obviously the less drag. Sorry, Olivia.
I just wanted to call out, while we were on board with Emma there, Sophie Connell jumped back to P2 with a 104.5, so they could make a late threat for pole position here. Again, there's still 3.5 minutes on the clock. That is time to pull into pit lane, bolt on a brand new set of alternates, stick a set, bring them out for 1 or 2 more laps, and just give it absolutely everything. No need to worry about the consequences of tapping the walls. It's just about how much can you push the car to make that one perfect lap.
It's still 0.3 of a second though, Olivia. I think if Sophie's going to pull that sort of lap time out, they've got to use every single inch of this racetrack. And
they were your prediction. You should believe in them.
I do believe in them, but I'm also a realist. That 104.2 was an absolutely insane time by Emma, set in slightly colder track temps as well. Has now crept up to 42 Celsius.
42? Last I checked it was 37. Oh mate, it is getting hot here.
Yeah. So much colder, in fact. No wonder we haven't seen many improvements.
Yeah, 37 might have been at the end of practice. I think that it probably tipped up a fair bit for Twally. Oh.
So this is it.
Christina Ryan is on a very fast lap. Got a bit of draft from Carmen Sienna. Trying to move traffic out of the way, but instead just getting the very good slipstream here, up 1.2 from what I'm currently seeing. So if she can get the final chicane right, our season 2 champion could be challenging for pole as well. As Lily Pelletier Sharp goes second.
Whoa.
Some big changes very late here, but that slipstream, as I mentioned, is it going to help out Christina at the line? It's a 105.01, so quicker, but not enough to jump up there with the front runners. That's going to be a move up to 9th. It's still going to be a big gain, but not enough to get in the top 5 here. No push to pass allowed in qualifying, so it's going to be all about what you got. It's an all or nothing lap. It looks like Christina drops into pit road one more time. Sophie Connell going to be all or nothing on this lap. This might be the most important lap of the session besides our provisional pole sitter, who took it up to the top very early. 1 minute and 17 seconds left. I think this is the final attempt, if there's anything left, for the number 69.
A little bit of traffic coming onto the banking for Sophie Connell. It's either going to be a help or a hindrance. All depends on whether these guys are on a fast lap or not. But they're going to be feeling that dirty air coming through the chicane. Hard on the brakes for that back straight chicane now. Still tucked up right under the rear wing of the car ahead. Giving it everything they've got. Coming through oval to turn 3 and 4. Car in front stays high though, giving them all the room they need. Drift a little bit wide on the exit of 4 to try and straighten up that braking zone. Hard on the brakes, a little bit of the Astro over that second to last curb, missing the final curve, as close to the wall you can get. And it's no improvement from Sophie Connell.
I think
105.3.
Carmen Sienna ahead. Force over to check up a little bit there. Obviously, no malice behind it, but just with being such a short track and trying to fit so many cars on it, you're gonna have these issues. Maybe they can set up for another one here, but Bobby Blowers is ahead and might just give the same issue.
Austin Farr made a big jump, and so did Nicholas Pressey. They're now going to be second and third, and it's Farr within about a tenth and a half now, so maybe there's a chance for someone to go to the top.
Yeah, also, Lily Pelletier Sharp set a lap that's now fallen to P4, but that was also on the primary tyre. Lily has found some really strong pace. Of course, teammates with Emma Krug on Deercats, so I'm sure they're sharing notes and trying to help each other out as much as possible, but
and by
that
just
split
5,000ths of a second, Austin Farr takes it to the top of the board on his final attempt. 104.217. Just 5,000ths. Can you believe it?
Emma Krug is in the pit lane. She's not going to be out there on track to improve. If this is it, I think Austin Farr's going to take a very shock pole position here at the Charlotte Roval. Wow.
On the primary tyre.
Wow.
And maybe, I mean, we didn't pick him as our driver picks, but there's perhaps a chance he's poised to go back to back. How about that? Final moment, we saw how close he was on that front stretch chicane to going into the grass and spinning out entirely. On the primary tires, no less, he's the fastest man in our qualifying session. There are 30 seconds left. I don't think anyone's going to get him.
Dig into driver mentality for just a second. Austin Farr coming off the back of that surprise victory at Texas Motor Speedway. He's going to have been carrying that momentum for the last 2 weeks and coming straight into the Charlotte Roval and sticking it right on pole position in the dying moments of the qualifying session. Maybe a little bit of a knock for Emma Kruger, but if she thinks she's got the pace, she's going to be absolutely fine. But wow, what an awesome end to that qualifying session.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the beautiful thing about these champ cars, right? We saw how strong Austin Farr was on the high bankings on the ovals. Here we come to, I know it's still an oval, but it's a roval, and you're not sure. Does that translate? Do the strong drivers in one discipline necessarily have the skills to do everything? I guess the answer for Austin Farr is a certain yes at this point.
And just like that, I think it's our closest qualifying session of the road course so far this year, and it came down to those top 1,000ths of a second. Well, let's take a look at who lines up here in the Grand Prix of Charlotte. This is the ABN Champ Car World Series. At the top of the board with a 104.217, Austin Farr in the numbered 52 pole position. Emma Kruger looked poised to take it, but it looks like not possible for the number 70 team. 5/1000ths of a second. That's the difference between first and second, and Kruger is going to line up second position. Third is going to be held then by Nicholas Pressey with a 104.499, and Lily Pelletier Sharp is going to be in fourth, right beside the number 94. Then from there, fifth place is going to be held by Sophie Connell. Bruce Silva is a 104.651 in the sixth position, and it's going to be seventh place Tucker Sawyer and Cade McKee. Then in eighth with a 104.743, just about a tenth and a half off of Sawyer's lap. And from there on out, you're going to look at ninth place Christina Ryan, the first driver outside of the 104 range, and Eli Sasick concludes the top 10, 105.08 for the driver, the 9, who started well at Watkins Glen, but was caught up in some mishaps very early, losing the lead to the eventual winner, Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, Craig Forsyth, the winner at Watkins Glen, lines up 11th here. Probably a bit disappointed with that, alongside as Lilac Zir riding out the sit row. Bobby Blowers and Carmen Sienna together on row 7. Rudy Valentine, another surprise qualifying performance there, alongside Mo Perry on row number 8. The Alexes, Martin and Miller, make up 17th and 18th on row number 9, and then Lily Fraser and Bryce Socia round out your top 20. Elias Flores, Kevin Feemster, and Brandon Cruz are your final drivers to set qualifying times, with Selena Thompson, Zach McBride, and Ruby Estes all starting from the tail end of the field for tonight's event.
And taking a look, 13 rows of drivers. That comes out to 26 who are in the session. and they're already on the move. The iRacing official pace car going to be leading them around. So let's get back to our drivers who are already in double file formation. And now we're moments away from the racing. This is when it gets intense. Drivers going through their final thoughts, getting prepared for the action tonight. And if qualifying wasn't telling enough, this is going to be an exciting one. I mean, the primaries and the alternates have been the battle of the road courses all season long, and just when you thought it was going to be the Reds on pole, it was Austin Farr who gets it there with the primaries, and it's going to be a very, very important strategy call for him to keep with the primaries and wait for the Reds later. Compound swap is mandatory tonight, so Emma Kruger eventually has to go into the primaries, and vice versa for Austin Farr, who chooses to start with the Blackwall Firestone. So this, I think, is the biggest deal. Pit strategy is going to be minimal. It is going to be, of course, important. Two-stop strategy we're looking at about 15 to 20 laps. That's the strategy cycle, so expect pit stops around lap 18 and lap 36 respectively. But the tires, we got to find out how the drivers break it down, what compounds they choose to use and when. That's going to be make or break.
Yep, traffic going to be key to the race here tonight, as always. When you're pitting, you don't want to be pitting from behind someone and then coming out behind someone even slower down the field. It's very much going to feel like a multi-class race here tonight. We've got a huge field on a very, very short track. It works out to about 6 or 7 cars per kilometre, which is actually a bigger population density than South Africa, and also the entire United States in an area equal to the size of the Vatican City.
You a nerd.
Yeah, I know.
We finally got that stat in. All right, time to get to the racing. I mean, we were talking about the circles, approximating Charlotte into a circle before the broadcast. I don't know if we're going to get in detail about that tonight as the race goes on. What I do want to get in detail about is the green flag. We are now just 2 turns away, give or take, if we get past the banking. It's the front stretch chicane, the pace car goes in, and it's going to be 49 laps of non-stop racing from this point onward. Your defending winner, Austin Farr, coming off the back of one of the biggest shocks in ABN Champ Car history. He's got the pole position, and he's looking to put on another show tonight. Right beside him, we got Emma Kruger returning this season, looking for victory lane on first start, and the green flag's out. Welcome to America's home for racing. The Charlotte Grand Prix is underway, and it's already an undercut from Nicholas Pressy, moving to fight for second as Austin Farr is going to separate himself, and we got a wreck already. Kruger's already around. It's destruction.
More contact behind as well. Cade McKee, I believe, going into the back of Sophie Connell there. I don't know if he's carrying much damage from that, but causing a bit of damage to car 69 as well. Olivia, that's your pick out.
Pain.
Yeah, definitely damage from I think that's damage for Sophie. I'm seeing a car rolling around with no front nose there and falling slowly further back in the field.
Yeah, that is Sophie Connell. We got a lot of damage and a cluster in oval turn 2 here.
Yeah, everyone's going to be...
As everyone just tries to navigate.
Yeah, trying to avoid that slow car on the high side. Sophie doing a fantastic job of staying out of the way, but a bit of a lock up into the chicane from one of the cars in the background there. Really, really tricky to get around a car with no front wing, but that's 2 of our picks basically out of competition already. They're going to need a caution to get back into it. Bruce Forsyth, though, just watching, going side by side with with Rudy Valentin to take the position into the final chicane. Good little move there from Craig to move himself up into P11.
So 1 lap in, it looks like my pick's the only one that survived that first lap. Tricky already, but either way, Rudy's going to be around 12th right now. Austin Farr's got the lead. Nicholas Pressy made that diving move in to already fight for second there with Emma Kruger, and while Kruger ended up on the wrecker, it's now going to be Pressy up into the runner-up spot and facing that pressure in second place. So that's a big change to the racing dynamic. I think it's going to help out Austin Farr substantially because Pressy gets a little loose there, bobbles down to the apron, and it's going to become a bit of a bottleneck here. These drivers further on back going to have to worry about each other, and it's going to become very, very challenging to get back up to your race leader in Farr, especially after a hectic first lap. And already we're seeing the gaps between drivers begin to grow and grow and grow. Lily Pelletier has a little bit of damage. It comes right back on and off, and just like that, it's going to be the 18 up to second, diving deep and making the move. Lily Pelletier Sharp is now in the runner-up position.
Yeah, just something else to quickly take note of. Cade McKee, currently running down in P8, has got a bit of front left wing damage, assumedly from the calamity that was turn 1, lap 2. Just been passed by Eli Sasek as well for P7, and Lily Pelletier-Sharp in the number 89 car, stacked up behind them as well, with a bit of a train forming. We got the Cade McKee train truly leaving the station right now. Lily Pelletier-Sharp getting a little bit too close to the rear wing and going wide to avoid, but very much the cork in the bottle, holding back 3 or 4 very fast drivers behind him right now.
Lilac Zir is the car directly behind. Lily is up into P2 here. So a horrible start, unfortunately, for the Gearcats team owner in what turned out to be a netcode incident with Nicholas Pressy. But the second car is really performing well, as Cade's still holding on. I think it has some good straight line speed.
Bobby Blowers, though, around the outside of Lilac Zir into the chicane there, who is Lilac now fighting side by side with, I believe that's Craig Forsyth, but what a move into that back straight chicane. Sorry, I'm just absolutely blown away. Hard on the brakes, round the outside, got the run to the inside. Lilac leaving plenty of room. Maybe a little bit too much, just allowed Bobby to squeeze right on through with little to no effort.
Yeah, and while I've been talking about all this carnage, Austin Farr has checked out, already nearly a 5-second lead ahead of Pelletier-Sharp. And let's remember, both those cars are on the primaries. This is when they will be most vulnerable, but they are really putting some force on the race here. The next car on primaries is Christina Ryan, who has jumped up to P7 here, and is now trailing Eli Sasek.
The difference between pole and second is most telling tonight. Our driver who started in pole is still leading. Our driver who started in second is 25th, 2 laps down and out of this race. What a difference 0.005 of a second can make, because I think that would have happened regardless, no matter the driver. We're saying it came down to server-to-server netcode error. Just an unfortunate, of course, outcome for Emma Kruger, Sophie Connell as well, both of which going to be out early. Austin Farr, though, has checked out, as you mentioned, with a 4.3 second lead over our runner-up driver, Lily Pelletier-Sharp. Third place is going to be a closer battle, though. That's Nicholas Pressy and Bruce Silva. Brew right now trying to make some gains, starting in 6th up to 4th. Nicholas Pressy has maintained the 3rd spot, though, and trying to keep himself in the podium as he's looking for, once again, another successful run at a road course. The New York driver got it done with a podium in Watkins Glen and is currently running 3rd now. Maybe one of the stronger drivers all year long with these road courses. So far quiet and giving us a good start tonight.
Something we always talk about when it comes to these road courses, and oval races to be fair, is how consistency is so important. Austin Farr giving himself that space at the start of the race, pulling out those 4 and a bit seconds. It gives you enough time to just breathe, relax, lift your foot off the throttle just for a moment. Give yourself a little bit of space to just settle down into the rhythm of the race, because you can afford to lose a couple of tenths of a second on the next lap or the lap after, because then all you need to do is switch it back on a little bit again and gain that gap back once again. So the likelihood that is the car behind is pushing as hard as they can, right on the edge of grip for them. But if you've got that little bit extra in you, like Austin Farr knows he has tonight, you don't have to be using that all the time. You can drive at 95% and cruise your way to the end of this race with 43 laps to go here at the Charlotte Oval.
We're taking a look again at Austin Farr. I mean, checked out already, but how about the battles all throughout the field that we haven't focused on just yet? There's still a lot of drivers very close to one another. Rudy Valentine going to be racing with Lilac Zir here, and in addition, Craig Forsyth. So this is the battle around the 10th position. Cade McKee is holding up still pretty well despite that damage, and you'll see the front wing is shredded, but still going to be close as Craig Forsyth comes up there in the 26th, and that could have been bad contact. Luckily, both drivers get away, but that's the pitfall of having that damage here for Cade McKee. Even though he's quick and has been able to hold on well with that defense, he's got to wait 10 more laps at the minimum until he gets down to pit road once again. It's not going to be easy, but he's given it a valiant effort so far. But one piece of contact, and we saw with Emma Kruger and company, you can go from vulnerable to eliminated just like that.
Yeah, I mean, you've really, if you're in this train, you have to be thinking about when does the window open. And in theory, you've served your minimum on the tyres. You can pit whenever now, but it would require a lot of fuel savings to get to the end. Alex Martin has actually made a call already to come down pit road and put on the primary tyre. But realistically, lap 13 is probably the earliest you can pit to still be able to make it full push without having to back down on the pace. So a long way to go for these drivers who are really struggling with traffic all throughout the field.
Going back to that little bit of fighting between Cade McKee, Craig Forsyth, and Rudy Valentin, you know, with Lilacs here pulling up the rear of that 4-car fight. Craig Forsyth hasn't really been able to get past Cade McKee yet. The Dirty Air not helping out in this instance, just not giving him that run through the corners that he needs. But got to give some credit to Cade here. He's using all of his years of racecraft and driving knowledge to keep what should be a faster car behind him behind. Forsyth just not setting himself up properly to get those runs into the corners and taking a lot of pressure from the 78 of Rudy Valentin behind, who's just peeking his nose out at the right moments. But it's really easy to crack under the pressure of trying to get past a much slower, damaged car, whilst also trying to hold back a driver like Rudy Valentin. I don't know if we're going to see another little peak from Rudy here, but he's been showing his nose into the chicane as they do go side by side. Cade McKee getting past rather easily this time by Craig Forsyth. Rudy Valentin looking to set him up on corner exit, not being able to get the run off the corner that he needed, but he's going to have all the time in the world coming down to the final chicane. The slipstream and the speed slowly building, but he's still a couple of car lengths back. Is he going to have a peak? No. He stays in line this time. Best overtaking opportunity, though, to get past Cade is looking like that back straight chicane. But good move from Craig Forsyth there to give himself the space that he needs to try and pull away from this now 3-car fight.
I will say, just to hop in here, it wasn't for lack of trying from Craig Forsyth. That was the 4th pushed pass of the 10 that he's got for the race used already, and that 4th one finally got the move done. Cade McKee, and actually everyone else in this train, still has all 10 in their pocket. So the fact that Cade was able to defend with that damage while also not using those resources to have them saved for later is impressive. That is a late move from Cade McKee there. Coming back down to the shorter line on the oval, but definitely right within the margins. Rudy Valentin to try and sweep it round the outside and is in a struggle to make it work. Goes for the crossover, but again, Cade McKee says no, closes the door, and Rudy Valentin maybe should be on the button. Lilacs it is, but it's going to be hard to make this move 3 wide here. Oh, as Cade McKee finally pits, in fact. See, lap 9 is happy taking 220 stints to the end with just a little bit of fuel saving, and that will release Rudy Valentin and Lilacs there back up to full racing pace.
Strategy coming into play early. 10 laps into 49. I think Cade just had enough there. Getting really not bullied around the track, but it's a very challenging job to keep it up there with that front wing damage. And as such, pit road getting busy for the first time tonight. Austin Farr is still your race leader as we're looking at him right now. He has a lead of about 4.8 seconds. It's been healthy and really nobody challenging him so far. Leland Pelletier sharp running in the 2nd position, and Bruce Silva, Nicholas Pressey, and Tucker Sawyer are all very close. Got a 3-car battle here to get inside the podium, and it looks like once again we got drivers getting closer and closer and closer. We're just a few laps away from that first big cycle into pit road. I think we're going to see a little more aggression come the pit road opportunities. You want to get in front of your competitors, make your way in first. Even a little bit of crowded traffic all the way into pit road can throw some drivers off. I personally have not been watching a lot of road course racing the past week on iRacing, but I saw some really crazy super speedway moments on pit entry, and these drivers are quick. Just because they're twisting and turning doesn't mean they're going at slow speeds. No, they're picking it up at about 150 even before they come down the back straightaway, as you see inside of the infield road course portion. These speeds are no joke, and if you get caught behind someone, it's going to be very, very bad if you make that contact here. So I think Tucker Sawyer is trying to make a ways around Mick Pressey, and Bruce Silva is glad to be in 3rd right now. Pressey fading back just a bit, and he might give away 2 positions if these 2 drivers behind him continue to fight, as Sawyer is certainly looking for a chance.
Yeah, Sawyer doing a great job of filling Nicholas Pressey's mirrors full of that beautiful Gulf blue and orange. Maybe just to try and put him off a little bit, try and send him offline to try and open up a gap for him to squeeze by. These guys have been getting really, really close into that final chicane. Nick Pressey perhaps not quite as strong on the brakes or through mid-corner as Tucker Salier is. So not only is Tucker putting that pressure on, Pressey's allowing that pressure to be put on him. Salyer's still underneath the wing coming into the infields of Nicholas Pressey. Eli Sasek, sorry, maybe making the smart decision to drop back a little bit and let these guys go at it. Salyer's not been able to mount much of a run so far, so perhaps a little bit of push to pass to try and make the move work as we come through the double left-hander here and onto the rover. I think that's a little bit of contact with the wall from Nick Pressey. Perhaps going to finally create the opportunity for Tucker Salier on the run down to the back straight chicane. Tucker is on the button now, building those revs again. The limiter comes off, the turbo pressure builds. He looks to the inside, but isn't quite able to get the run this time. Oh no, he's through. Sorry, he's through. I couldn't see the standing. Couldn't see through the standings. Tucker Salier through on Nicholas Pressey with a fantastic move down the inside of the back straight chicane. Using a push to pass though, is that going to come to haunt him at the end of this race?
And I mean, if you're one of these top 3 now, you've got a really decent gap. I think your strategy, no matter what tyre you're on, no matter what tyre you want to be on, you run this tank dry, you have the clean air, make hay while the sun shines, and just don't get caught up in these battles. That is really the crucial thing. Austin Farr, Lily Palety-Sharp, and now Bruce Silver have some really solid clean air to run in. I'm sure Tucker Sawyer's plan is to do the same now, just make a headway away from Nicholas, but it's the cars who are sort of stuck behind him, maybe Christina Ryan or Lilac Zare, as the pit window opens this lap to go full push to the end. Now might be the time. You might want to cut it short, go for the undercut, bolt some, apply some fresh alternates on, and really try and use them as best as you can.
Yeah, Nick Pressey really struggling on these alternate compound tyres here. Eli Sasek's just got through it on him, and Christina Ryan has gone through as well. I think, as you were saying, Olivia, maybe now is the time for Nick Pressey to pit. He does go straight past pit lane entry, but he's losing so much time on these tyres right now.
I wonder if that's more of a damage thing. There's no meatball showing up on that car, but with a pretty solid whack to the wall, there could be something not quite right on that suspension that could just be unsettling. And I mean, even if even if the car doesn't feel undrivable, you just don't have the confidence in it after it takes a hit like that. You're not sure if it's going to give up on you, and you have those doubts in your head, really. Trade Force Side has made a stop most recently, currently on the jacks, putting another set of primary compound tyres on, in fact. So the pit window open, and some drivers are not needing to be told twice about that fact.
Forsyth's going to merge right back into traffic there, almost forced onto the grass. That's a close move, and he's going to stay up top because it looks like he's not being given any love here. It's Bryce Saucier battling in the mix with what looks to be what's left of Cade McKee. Bryce drops back quickly, and you can see Cade's still going to be holding Forsyth off. Now Cade's got that front wing back on, so a little more confidence, but that was a very close move there for Craig Forsyth. Very luckily, because we saw in qualifying, if you go into that grass and you go a bit too quick into a turn, you might end up spinning. So all is well for Craig Forsyth, but that could have been much, much worse as the 4D racewear machine keeps on going as he cycles out the middle of the field. Bobby Blowers makes it in this time by, going to be cycling in from the 12th position. Carmen Sienna stays out, and now we're seeing more and more drivers make their way in at the 15 lap marker. I think by lap 20, almost everyone will have one pit stop under their belts.
Yeah, the spotters not quite doing their jobs on pit exit there, allowing their cars to get a little bit too close. That could have been a big one. I think we're quite lucky that it wasn't.
Yeah, and like the other thing on pit exit there, the cold tyres to be very brutal, so to be stuck, sort of stranded on the outside there, they were just quite unfortunate to both catch Bryce Saucier, who made a pit lane start, has just been trying to survive, but was off cycle from them. Again, if you pit into traffic, that can be worse than sitting behind the car you're battling with, really. So Bryce being very kind, letting them pass once the danger was clear, but a very scary moment, I'm sure, for all drivers involved.
As the cycle progresses here, we're going to see more and more of those risky moments potentially. Eli Sasek from 10th up to 5th. Biggest mover so far today looks to be Rudy Valentin from 15th up to 7th. So we're seeing some gains being made. Alex Miller might be in contention too from 18th up to 9th. Miller going to get away from a little bit of trouble there going through the first 2 turns. Looks like Elias Flores going to go right through the middle and luckily not make contact with anyone. But that number 71 definitely out of sorts as he entered the infield road course section. So keep that in mind. We got lap machines, traffic from Flores, Brandon Cruz, Zach McBride, Lily Fraser, and others. Mo Perry got back on the track, 5 laps down right now. And Sophie Connell, Emma Kruger, your 2 retirees that took to the track. Unfortunate for them, and we're still going to look up in front here. Strategy continues to come into play. Austin Farr leads now by 5 flat seconds. Lily Pelletier Sharp has not gone down to pit road just yet, and we're going to have to keep on watching to see when those moves are made in. I think Tucker Sawyer faded back just a bit as you see Bruce Silva makes it up to 3rd. So we're seeing some drivers hop up the ladder, a few others dropping down quickly for that first pit stop.
I'm going to say something here real quick.
Please.
We've noticed Austin Farr, the Lip Chase Sharp, just to run away from the field on the primary tyre, what we expected to be the sort of the non-preferred tyre. Expect everyone to run on the alternates, but with it being, with Trade Force Scythe has found the wall and has lost half the front wing. And with a meatball, so I get interrupted from that. What a horrible moment for Trade Force Scythe, who of course is the reigning road course winner from last time out at Watkins Glen, but his day might be done here already. But sorry, go back to what I was saying. I'm wondering, with this track temp being 44 Celsius, probably about, 110, 120 Fahrenheit? Are these alternate tyres just not performing the way they need to? And are we going to see the primary actually be the strong tyre? As we see Tucker Sawyer, Rudy Valentin also making pit stops now. We're well into the pit cycle, and I think we're going to see the rest of the field pit within the next couple of laps here.
Yeah, I'm questioning if that's exactly what we saw in qualifying. Perhaps the alternate tyres are going off even after a lap. We are seeing some folks take them quite long. Eli Sasek, longest stint on the alternates so far that's pitted with 16 laps. Tuckasoy's pitted as well for a brand new set of those primary compounder tyres on pit lane X, on their outlap now. So as you say, Liv, they're not holding up quite as we're expecting them to, and I think Austin Farr and Lily Pelletier Sharp seem to be Lily Pelletier Sharp, Austin Farr, Christina Ryan and Alex Miller all clued in on that, but everyone else kind of being left hung out to dry in terms of tyre choice right now.
Pelletier Sharp does make the call down pit road. We'll have to see what her call is here. Does she take on the alternates here and see how they feel, or is she happy with what she's running and take another set of primes for now? It's going to be a very interesting decision as the car goes up on the jacks. It'll be about an 8-second stop. Nice and quick for these cars. And it looks like another set of primary tyres.
Primaries.
So
well,
it looks
how
like
about
Dalton,
that?
it's not the preferred one for our leaders tonight. They're all going to try to go with those primaries. We didn't expect that at all. We saw how Watkins Glen was all about the alternates, but tonight, your top 2 drivers, we'll see about Austin Farr. But so far, it looks like it might be the move to stay with the primaries as one driver's got trouble. That looks to be Flores once again. Front wing is destroyed. Shades of Cade McKee, and it looks like they'll have to drop down and in this time by that number 71. Another pit stop as it looks like he and the number 52, there's Austin Farr. They come in together.
Yeah, Austin Farr reacting to Lily Pelletier Sharp. A significant gap between the two, but obviously enough for Austin Farr to be like, yep, okay, that's time for me to come in and get on a fresh set of tyres as well. Very reactive strategy move, but he's very much got the pace to hang on to this at the moment. Up on the jacks, the car goes. We assume a set of those primary compound tyres, a fresh set, getting bolted on. Yes, they are, and he is away. Nice clean stop for our race leader, who comes back out, still in the lead, as Alex Miller has also followed him into pit lane.
I think Austin was more reacting to the fuel needle there. This is about as far as you can go. In my testing, it was 18 laps full push. Obviously, when you bat it down for race pace, 19 clearly doable, but going much further than that, you've got to really be trying to save. And from the lead of the race, you want to put your head forward and just go. And I think that's what Austin Farr has done. As Rudy Valentin has set the fastest lap of 105.0 after pitting onto a set of alternate tyres. So they do still have the 1-lap pace. And Valentin, who had a pretty disappointing qualifying, getting bad up to speed and trying to work his way through the field.
Well, a little bit of a moment for Eli Sasek in front of Rudy Valentin, in fact. It's going to give Rudy the run that he needs on those softer alternate compound tyres to easily slide through on Eli Sasek, who just stays out of the way, stays to the outside, very much running his own race, but that puts Rudy Valentin up a position and less than a second behind Nicholas Pressy. Nick Pressy, who we saw struggling on the alternate compound tyres at the start of this race, now on a set of the primary compound tyres, but the car behind him on a fresher, softer set of rubber. I don't think it's going to be very many laps until we see Rudy overtake the number 94 car here.
And we're taking a look on board. You see how quick Rudy's charging at Pressy. I think the move is going to come this lap. And in the alternates here, we're seeing Rudy get that speed together. Fastest lap of the session to this point, as you mentioned. So definitely a driver to look out for on a charge. Trying to go down to the inside. Looks for it already. And I think there's an opportunity, and it will be taken. Pressy is going to nearly go in the grass and luckily get out of it unscathed. But that could have been much worse. Quick pass for Rudy. No contact involved. And he'll make up another spot in 2 consecutive laps.
Yeah, Eli's already looking. Eli smelled blood in the water there with that moment from Pressy and is now on the button immediately trying to make it 2. And he goes to the inside of the chicane. He should be able to complete this. And I think Nicholas Pressy knows. Oh no, never mind! Pressy having to take evasive action there, that will give him a slowdown, but more importantly, his car is in one piece. Eli sat it with a big mistake trying to get the car slowed up there. And that cost him not only that overtake, but also a spot to Cade McKee there. And very lucky to not find the wall or potentially contact with Nicholas.
Fortunately, Eli Sasek already going slow enough by that point that he didn't go much further with 4 locked up tyres, but that's going to be a pretty ruined set of rubber. And perhaps it was a touch of desperation that caused him to go for that move there. Trying to take advantage of that moment from Nick Pressy and trying to stay on the back of Rudy Valentin. But it's cost him a position to Cade McKee, and he's got those tyres way above their operating window.
Luckily, they are the primary tyre. If those were alts, I would be very concerned and on the radio asking, when can I pit? When can I pit? But yeah, I think just try to be opportunistic, which is the right thing to do, but you've got to execute on that as well, and it just seems like he didn't. As Christina Ryan on the button behind Tucker Sawyer, she's got the alternates on now, starting with primes. She's on the button into the foul chicane. Is she going to be brave? Is she going to go for it? Oh, and backs out of it. Thinks better of it. We know she's a very skilled driver with a knack for keeping these race cars clean, and maybe we'll have another look into one of the chicanes on this lap. But she's going to have in her head that you've got to make the most of these tyres while they still have pace, because the primaries seem to just keep running and running. Oh, and Christina actually now on the radio talking to Tucker was asking to swap to try and catch up to Brew, but ended up distracting Tucker Sawyer, who takes a ride through the rallycross course, and off Christina goes for P4.
A very unique feature of racing virtually on iRacing. Obviously, all the drivers got an open mic line to each other that they could just key up whenever they want. Obviously, very much against the rules to use it intentionally as a way of distracting other drivers, but whether it was intentional or not, Christina Ryan using the voice chat function perfectly to gain herself a position and get herself up into P4.
All being resourceful. That's Tucker Sawyer into the wall out of the final corner, and that's a front wing end plate gone. Things going from bad to worse for Tucker Sawyer as that lost position just snowballing and turning to more of an avalanche that's burying this driver now down to P6 in the field behind Rudy Valentin.
It's the mental game. It's so important to keep yourself focused in these sorts of races, especially with the walls like as close as they are. Like taking that knock of the position, you know, you get a little bit, I shouldn't have been distracted by that. I shouldn't have gone off there. Shouldn't have lost that position. And if you can't get refocused, you're just gonna make another mistake further down the road. And Tucker Sawyer very much suffering from a touch of lack of success there.
Yeah, and I will mention, of course, you can mute the radio if you know you need that ultimate focus. Obviously, it can be helpful to know what's going on the track, especially I like using it on oval races to hear out precautions, but that's the downside. It can bite you, as Tucker has to pit for a new front wind, and that won't be in the window. We'll have to hit one more stop after this, so either hoping for a caution or just trying to give it everything to regain those lost spots.
Fantastic sportsmanship from that lap's traffic there. Both of them a lap down on Christina Ryan, and both of them pulling over to let her through, even though they're both fighting over P15s. It's very unexpected, but very respectful.
As Ruby Estes pulls over again to let Rudy Valentin through quite eagerly, and Kevin Feemster instead tried to take the run through the chicane. We'll let Rudy by now, but that has changed the position. You've got to try and navigate traffic safely, but also it can help to try and maximize it as much as possible. Of course, you know that as a multi-class driver, Taylor. you love using the traffic as a pit.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. One of my absolute favourite things to do. Using the slower GTs to slow down the guy in front of you, and then just being able to drive around his outside because you've just so happened to get a better run through the corner. Funnily enough, I actually got picked the other week at Mugello. I got checked up in the second chicane, and the car behind me just drove around the outside of me, and it's actually one of the first times I can remember that ever happening to me and not being done by me. It's safe to say I was a little bit embarrassed.
Yeah, Eli Sasek actually taking Christina Ryan's notes there, letting Lilac Zir by in the infield there, seeing Lilac on those softer tyres, and just trying to work together, really. Not a bad idea. The gap at the front still only 6 seconds between Ostapar, Lilipete, Sharp, and then Bruce Silver a further 12 behind. So those top two have really checked out, and it's going to be an all-out scrap, I think, for that final step of the podium. Barring anything, why did I say that? I'm sorry.
Commentators,
I'm sorry.
We've both already done it once tonight. It was David's turn last week at Texas where we had those cautions. It's our turn this week, so let's try and not push our luck.
I'm muting my mic.
I'll say this much. One driver who's been gaining all night long, my one pick to win, Rudy. He's made it up here to 5th now, and he's about 2 seconds off of Christina Ryan. Still a few off of the podium, but there's a chance to get in that top 3. And from 15th on the board, biggest movers so far in terms of those who came from outside of the top 10. 10 spots up. I think there's a big chance here. Only 12 drivers are on the lead lap right now, going back to Tucker Sawyer, who had to go down a pit road, and I feel like he's going to be substantially off the cycle when all is said and done. He's about 56 seconds off. Bobby Blauer's more the same, 53 seconds adrift. I think realistically for the rest of this race, only 10 drivers are safe to remain on the lead lap, and that would go back to Alex Miller, who's about 43 seconds behind your leader, and we'll see if he's going to be able to keep up that pace. It's been dominant from Austin Farr, who's remained on the primary so far tonight. He gets by Mo Perry. Perry, the final driver to get inside the cockpit tonight, running already in 19th, so it looks like he's gained. He's 5 laps down, though, as it stands, as he makes it back onto the circuit, and you can see now Farr makes it quickly by. Lap machine's going to be no trouble so far for your leader. Lily Peltier Sharp is 7 seconds back, but hasn't had to worry all too much in regards to any other drivers around. This number 18 team, it's been smooth sailing for the most part, and 19 seconds back of your leader now. Bruce Silva in 3rd. Christina Ryan, that time by, looked to be 0.2 of a second quicker. Rudy Valentin looked to be about a full second quicker than the both of them here. So Rudy's in hot pursuit. I think these 3 might catch each other when the race is all said and done, as slowly but surely we're getting closer to our next pit cycle, and Craig Forsyth just disconnected. Looks like he had some troubles and too much to bear for the rest of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking at the further down the field, because we've obviously had a lot to focus on at the front here. Emma Kruger and Sophie Connell, obviously very early instance. Lily Fraser, Brandon Cruz, and Craig Forsyth are all out of the lobby now and completely out of the race. Elias Flores, we saw some of those struggled on the broadcast, but Carmen Sienna, a very disappointing night for her. Looks like just a big hit of the wall coming back onto the oval section, and still in the pits.
Ooh.
It flaps down currently. No, rolling back again, but yeah, Mo Perrin's out of right also well down the track as Ruby Estes toes.
And we're taking a look at why. We caught it there, going through the bridge to get into the infield road course section, catching up to a lap machine, backs off, checks up, and slams the wall. I'm not quite sure if that was just a reflex
That was
move.
the position. That was Estes and Feimster.
That looks like maybe a little bit of contact to the wall on the inside is what pushed her towards the outside wall there. Combined with the dirty air, I don't think there's much she could have done there. Tricky one, that one. This track really starting to bite now. We're a good length into this race. The driver's starting to maybe lose a little bit of focus. It's a constant assault of corners, and you really don't get much chance to breathe.
And
even
Cade
the two
McKee
chances you get are still corners. Sorry, Cade McKee.
Yeah, Cade McKee has just pulled into the pit lane. Was trailing Nicholas Pressey there in a bit of a fight, but remember, Cade McKee stopped at the end of lap 9 to fix that wind damage. Had to fuel save a little bit to make it this far. This will be his final stop, but he'll have to do a little bit more fuel saving again. This is the start of the pit window. You're starting to see it. The cars are full push, maybe a couple more laps before they start to look towards pit road, but after that point, you've got to put your cards on the table, make a decisive call, and see what you can do with it.
Cade's pace hasn't been too bad on the slight fuel saving strategy. He's been there or thereabouts with Nick Pressey over the last few laps on the same compound of tyre. So it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out after this pit stop cycle's ended, but if anyone can do it, it's Cade McKee.
Just moments away from the real exodus in the pit road, Cade McKee comes in early once again, and that's been the theme of his race. So now, it's the big question. Your leaders have decided to stay on the primaries, which we didn't expect to begin with, but now it's clear they have to go for a compound swap no matter what. So it's going to be all about the red tires next time by. And now we got to find out how it's going to work out, because we've seen with drivers such as Rudy Valentine, it's a quick compound. However, it looks to be a little riskier. We saw some of our early front runners who used it ended up falling by the wayside. We saw drivers like Emma Kruger, Craig Forsyth, Sophie Connell and company who have now fallen way back and disconnected. So the question really lies in whether or not these drivers are prepared to go on to the Reds, given they've been on the primaries for over 30 laps and we're coming down to the final stretch.
I think they're in the best position for this, to be honest. The problem with the Reds is really the end of stint performance. That's what you're concerned about. But especially Austin Farley, Taylor Sharp, and to some extent Drew Silver, they will want to be looking ahead. They're going to want to extend this stint as long as they can while they have the clean air. And that means when they come down pit road, actually Bruce Silver, of course, does not have to take the primaries, can just go back to the primaries. But they're going to want to extend to maybe lap 38, 39, because they have the clean air, and from there the alternate should be pretty easy to handle for those final 10 or 12 laps.
Adaptability is so important for anyone driving these champ car machines, because you've not only got to have to deal with road courses, ovals, and rovals like we're having to deal with tonight. It's how the grip of the car changes, even just between the compounded tyres. Obviously the primary compound tyres harder, much more durable, but significantly less grip than the alternate compounded tyres, depending of course on the track temperature at which is going to perform best. But being able to keep a handle on that, keep control of that as Christina Ryan pits, is one of the most important parts of champ car driving.
And it's going to be interesting to see what compound Christina goes to, because as of right now, she's fulfilled her obligation. She can run whatever she wants. If she pulls into the box or upon the jets, it's going to be the primes or the alts. And Christina Ryan pulls away on primary tyres. So from a former champion, that is the notice. You want to be on those white sidewalls for as long as you can in this one. And she will run these since the end of the race. She comes out of pit lane, and Alex Miller looks for it, and will actually fight all the way through, still has to make a stop. And I'm sure Trina will not be very happy about that, but she set the tyres up to temp, and Alex Miller makes his way around for the time being. That's going to be so frustrating, though.
No, but Christina's making the smart decision. She's not trying to get past Alex right now. She knows that Alex Miller still owes a stop. All she's focused on right now is trying to get those tyres up to temperature. She's weaving up and down the banking here at Charlotte. It's not going to do much, but anything she can do to try and get her car back up to race pace, she's going to try and do it. Obviously not much faith in those alternate compound tyres this late in the race. She's had the information from both the blacks and the reds, so she can make a really informed decision on what to go for. And she makes that harder compound tyre choice. I'm very excited to see how this affects her race going towards the end.
Looks like Rudy Valentin making the opposite call, sticking with the alternate tyre for this final stint. Has to take them, what, 16 laps to the end here, so this is going to be an interesting situation as he comes out right behind Christina.
Yeah, very much a fight to keep an eye on. Half a second gap between the two of them. Two very fast, very talented drivers. It's race cars, and it's exciting race cars. Two different compounds of tyres. This is the sort of racing we like to see in single-seaters.
Yeah, but Christina's going to be ruining that pit exit now and not getting around Alex Miller, because this is the time when she's most vulnerable for Rudy Valentin on those red tyres. They're fired up now. They need to go. I know she's got a lap of heat in those primaries, but they just don't have the ultimate pace. So she's got to be on the defensive here. Maybe just try and actually get around Alex Miller and put a car in between them. And then hopefully towards the end of the stint, she'll be more comfortable to just pull away and hold that gap. As pit road very busy now. Bobby Blauer's last lap, Lilac Zir, Eli Sassett this time by. Everyone's putting their chips on the table here. And we'll have to see who comes out on top.
Alex Miller very much deciding that he does not want to get overtaken by Christina Ryan using the push to pass on the backstretch last time by. All he's doing though is throwing dirty air at Alex Miller. All he's doing is throwing dirty air at Christina Ryan, who is now well under threat from Rudy Valentin. 0.2 seconds is the gap. Rudy is tucked right up under that rear wing on those much softer compound tyres. Is he going to get the run coming onto the banking? 0.2 seconds back in the slipstream. Christina Ryan on the button. Rudy Valentin still got 10 push to passes left. But Christina Ryan has that slipstream effect from Alex Miller in front, but being thrown all that dirty air into this chicane, which is very much a corner on this version of the track. Alex Miller staying a little bit higher. Valentin then not getting the run coming through to the final chicane. The fight's happening, and it's happening now.
And while this is going on, Nicholas Pressy and Cade McKee have found themselves on track again. Pressy's still ahead. That undercut obviously compromised by the fuel save that Cade has to do. But within half a second once again, this is... Every car is just coming together here to finish this final stint of the race. Who knows what's going to happen here? It all comes down to what you can do with the car you have now. As Lily Pelletier Sharp makes her final stop, we'll have to go onto the alternate compound tyre here. Austin Farr still yet to stop ahead. But we'll see if she catches traffic or whether she'll be able to hold on to a pretty comfortable spot running clean air in second position. Bruce Silver will overtake in the meantime, but has to stop, of course. Oh, and Alex Miller really checking up both of these cars as Kevin Feimster gets out of the way. Christina Ryan not on the button, trying to get it done with slipstream, but Rudy Vant has a double slipstream.
Oh, she's looking
to peak. Think better of it.
Oh, she's been so aggressive into that final chicane these last couple of laps, locking up both times, really trying to get past Alex Miller. He's, again, still giving her absolutely nothing. But if you're Rudy Valentin, you're driving around on a softer compound of tyres in 45-degree track temp. You haven't got much life left. You haven't got life left in these tyres. But weaving around, just trying to fill Christina Ryan's mirrors with that car. But both of these guys really struggling in the dirty air of Alex Miller, not being able to put anything together. Rudy Valentin has just got to hunt for all the clean air that he can and focus on getting the run out of that corner, because Alex Miller isn't going to get out of the way and let Christina Ryan through.
Well, Alex will have to pit soon, so that the hand will be forced in the end, but this has got to be so frustrating for Christina. It was all down to that side-by-side on pit exit. If she could have cleared then, she would have been home free, but the inside line just so powerful. As Austin Farr and Bruce Silver both making their way down pit road as we've been watching this. Christina Ryan to the inside. Can she
She's
make the
made
corner
it.
stick?
She's
No,
in the
she
wall.
can't! And she is not happy on the radio at Alex for that defense there.
Oh, and what promised to be such a fantastic battle ends in heartbreak for Christina Ryan. She's gonna, if she doesn't have damage, I'm gonna be shocked. But
She's missing a wing end plate, but there's no meatball on that car. I'm not sure how the suspension's going to hold up, but it might be good enough to limp to the end of the race here. But with a chance at a podium, that is going to be devastating.
she was so lucky to get away with that with only front wing damage, but absolutely devastating for Christina. She was up a good 4 positions on track before she did, and Rudy Valentin, just to drive the dagger even deeper, gets past Alex Miller first time of asking into the back straight chicane.
Now the question really is, can Christina Ryan recover here? Pit strategy still on the way. Maybe there's a chance for a few others to cycle up for her standing, but it's going to be very tough with that damage here and a lap machine of Mo Perry. Rubbing that salt in the wound, as you mentioned here, it's just going to become harder and harder till the very end. So for Ryan's chances, I'm not quite sure what's left. Rudy Valentin got by very quickly, and Alex Miller on the way in. So it looks like no troubles there. Rudy's going to be on the move for what will be a final stint for many drivers. Bruce Silva going to be with the Reds. Lily Peltier Sharp is on the Reds, 11 seconds back. And Austin Farr's got the race lead now. And it's going to be a matter of whether or not this number 52 machine can coast till the end. On the verge of what could be 2 consecutive wins. He's got to get by a lapper here. So before we speak early, he got by cleanly. That's good to hear, and he gets back on the way. Leaders are now in full control yet again. We got about 12 drivers on the lead lap. Make that 11 as Bobby Blowers is going to go 1 lap down, and Eli Sasek might be up next. Sasek going to be getting out of the road course section and back onto the oval. Once more on the move there. Lilac Zier is going to be in about 10th position. Alex Miller is 9th. Closest battle in the heart of the pack was previously Cade McKee and Nicholas Pressey, but Cade is getting a little more momentum and pushing further out, whereas Tucker Sawyer and look right behind Christina Ryan. There was a battle, and it looks like Tucker took the spot away. So Ryan's going to continue dropping down, but Mo Perry gets to the wall, and luckily doesn't make contact with anyone else. So Perry's going to go way wide, get out the way, and Cade McKee takes up another position, only on track as he looks for maybe a chance to get up to 6th here. He's gaining that time by. He looked to be about a second and a half quicker than Christina Ryan, and he's still continuously the much quicker driver.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Valentin, free of that traffic, sets the fastest lap first driver into the 104s in the race session. By contrast, Christina Ryan with a 108 last time by. Obviously, getting swallowed up a little bit, maybe not the true pace of the car, but that thing is wounded. And with still another 9 laps to go at the line, it could potentially fall all the way to the tail end of the lead lap here.
Bruce Silva pitting only 3 laps to go to get onto their final set of tyres. It's only 1.8 seconds ahead of Rudy Valentin.
Oh, Kay McKee spins behind Christina Ryan. She took a little bit of the curb and maybe wasn't able to carry as much speed with that damage, and Kay McKee couldn't get it checked up. Loses a spot to Nicholas Pressey and will have to recover in this race once again.
How dare this race have things happen in it as I'm trying to hype up a fight? how devastated, how unfortunate that this race be exciting. But yeah, the gap for the fight for P3 is only 2.2 seconds at the moment. It's growing a little bit, but I'm interested to see if Rudy Valentin can break the commentator's curse from this race and get himself a podium by the end of this race.
I could see it happening. I do want to mention, Lily Peltier Sharp is using a fair bit of push to pass here to just try and maybe close the gap to Austin, maybe extend the gap to Brew. Austin, however, has not used a single one yet. Has a 15-second lead and just doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like he needs it.
Austin for fastest lap, surely.
Yeah.
In the wall. Sorry to jump in there. The fight for the last position of the top 10 has come to a bit of a head. Eli Sasek and Alex Miller now side by side. Eli Sasek not taking much damage from that crash, but Miller's going to dive down the inside into the final chicane. Manages to get the move done. A little bit slow on the exit, but holds on to that position for now. Does Eli Sasek have enough damage that this fight isn't going to be able to continue? Still really close on the infield. All the dirty air being thrown his way now. Him not being used to that, having thrown it all at Alex Miller last time by. But wow, late change of position coming down to the final 6 laps.
Yeah, I hate that my brain went to this, but the exact move that Christina tried on Miller in that chicane, but a very different outcome in Alex's fight for that position in the top 10.
Well, that's what's going to happen when the car you're fighting ends up drawing a safer barrier. Eli Sasek very much taking some front left wing damage off that. Pace not quite there, but luckily for him, we have had a late pit stop by Tucker Salia, who's gone on to his last set of tyres down in P11. So Eli Sasek's points race perhaps being saved a little bit, but he is only three and a bit seconds clear of the car in P11. So definitely something to keep an eye on with these last 6 laps to go. We've seen how wing damage can affect race pace.
Yeah, Christina Ryan finally letting Pressy by. Wasn't trying to defend too much, but just struggling to hold onto the car. Set a 107 last time by, which is a little bit faster, maybe getting a bit more comfortable with limping this thing around, but it's still about 2 seconds off ultimate race pace, with the combination of the wind damage and a little bit of wheel damage from what I understand.
Yeah, it can't be comfortable for at this point. The front end of that car is basically producing lift. She gets too aggressive over that curb, she might be doing some Mercedes CLR flipping on us.
I sure hope not.
First blow over at Charlotte ever?
Hayward is already on the back of Christina here after his mistake a few laps ago. And then there's a bit of a gap, about 5 seconds back to Lilac there, and another 8 back to Alex Miller, who she will not want to see right now. But with just 6 laps left, maybe she can hold on to P7 or P8 here. But it's not what she wanted, for sure.
Interestingly for Cade McKee, is now on the other side of the argument from earlier on in the race when he was running around with the front wing damage. He's now having to deal with the car with the front wing damage. Christina Ryan, he has already passed Christina Ryan, but you know, it's quite interesting to see that the tables very much turned on him there for a moment.
Yeah, and eyes back to the battle for the final spot of the podium. Rudy Valentin has closed in on Bruce Silver and is now within a second. And crucially, although those tyres are a few laps older, Rudy still has all 10 push to pass available. Brew down to 3.
A little bit of this gap going to come down to traffic. Car number 7 of Feemster going to check Bruce Silver up a little bit, maybe coming onto the bank-in. We know Feemster's been one to get out of the way nice and early, but is it going to happen again here? Yes, it does. Valentin deep in the slipstream, only 6/10 of a second back and closing. Slipstream paying absolute dividends for him here. Closing up again a little bit on the brakes. Wow, a lot on the brakes. Bruce Silver not very aggressive coming into that chicane, losing a little bit of time to Rudy Valentin. This fight might not even go down to the wire. If the move feels like it's going to happen very soon.
It's certainly possible, and if it does, we can just look a couple of cars back where KBT and Nicholas Pressy are also scrapping for P5, a similar push pass advantage for the trailing driver there. KBT 10-5 advantage there, as Tucker Sawyer gets past Eli Sasek, charging on those fresh tyres and nearly getting caught out by a lapped car. Luckily gets out of the way there. Oh wait, no, that's not a lap car, that's Austin Farr. Were those cars fighting a lap down and he had to take evasive action?
I think so, that's certainly what it looks like. And Austin Farr though has got plenty of time to just give up and try and stay out of that fight. 14 seconds clear of Lily Pelletier Sharp. I've really struggled to say her name today. I need to practice saying that. But yeah, Austin Farr very much taking his time to try and get through those guys. Has got past both of them. Only past Bryce Saucier at the moment. But just taking his time, not rushing this. He only needs to hold on for 3 more laps.
That's got to be a heart-in-mouth moment, though, as the leader with such a big gap and then suddenly almost 3 wide into a chicane with cars fighting for position, a very good job to keep his cool and just say, you know what, I can go straight on here. I'll take the slowdown. I'll live to hold on to this gap. But
discretion very, very much the better part of Valor there. The fight between Rudy Valentin and Bruce Silver for this final podium spot. Valentin just looking a little bit more confident on corner exits in the first little section of the lap as he gets the back end of that Dallara IR18 out, coming onto the banking. Might drop out of slipstream here, but it's very much not going to give him the run. Coming up to the back straight chicane, he's only going to have a few more laps to try and make this move run.
2 laps at the line.
2 laps. It's going to be 2 laps at the line.
Does he not have a push pass button? Because he's not used any. And obviously Austin can just say it's a bit of a flex, doesn't need it. Rudy could really use the extra power right now, or at any point in the last 47 laps. Hasn't gone to it once. Bruce still has 2 and clearly can use them. I think Rudy's wheel bindings could be what cost him a podium here, maybe.
One of the unique features of racing in sim compared to in real life. They've got all their buttons mapped for them by engineers, but in iRacing, you got to do that all yourself. 0.6 seconds is still the gap. Rudy Valentin's still the faster driver out of the 2 at the moment, but just not being able to make that move work. Perhaps again a touch of desperation creeping in this race, not giving him the opportunity that he needs to try and get by. That gap opening up a little bit now though, as Valentin fighting with the dirty air, coming onto the banking in this fight for P3.
Leader has taken the white flag. If Rudy wants this podium, he's got to take it now.
Got to use his push
again on the button. Rudy doesn't have it. I mean, we saw this at Watkins Glen. It might have been Rudy who had it bound, but just in the heat of the race forgot there was a resource available. Obviously, drivers might not be too familiar with this car, might be used to driving tin tops, F4 stock cars, really anything, and just slip in their minds that they have this strategy piece to use when they need it. We're on to the final lap, and Bruce Silver still holding on to the podium by a margin of just half a second.
It's been dominance, though, for our man up in front, Austin Farr, and he's coming around for the final time with 2 more turns on the oval, and then the front straightaway has led just about every lap in tonight's event, makes it by Mo Perry easily, and comes into the final braking zone, and it's 2 consecutive victories for Austin Farr, the number 52 team, back on top. They're going to finish first once again. Back-to-back from Texas to Charlotte. Your second-place driver coming around this time through. Lily Pelletier-Sharp jumped up from 4th in the very start of the race, made it up to 2nd, and at the line will come through with a runner-up finish, best so far in the season. But this is the fight we've been looking at, and it looks like it's going to be Bruce Silva getting the advantage. Rudy cuts deep, but it's not going to be deep enough. Bruce Silva is 3rd. Rudy Valentin is in 4th. Cade McKee looks to be far enough out for no position battle. Nicholas Pressey is going to be behind, but not nearly close enough. And there's a big gaggle of cars here. Lilac Zier is coming up on a damaged Christina Ryan. Maybe there's something that can happen here, but I don't think there's enough time. As these 2 drivers come across the stripe, Ryan's going to be able to hold on for what looks to be 7th place, and does so easily. At the line, there's only one more battle here. Eli Sasek and Tucker Sawyer, they're neck and neck. Sawyer's got the inside. Sasek up high. They're going to be side by side. Sasek cuts through.
But had a slowdown. Had to burn the slowdown. Did he get it served in time? It looks like Eli Sasek loses the spot again, but potentially adjusted post-race. Who knows? That I'm sure that won't. It does not feel good for Tucker to do that. He apologizes on the radio, and yeah. I mean, we saw them side by side ahead of our leader. Coming as the leader was taking the checker there, was worried about a repeat of the incident into the first chicane. I think Austin just backed off, let them take the line, and that set us up for that dramatic finish to round out our top 10.
I'll tell you what, I want to give a recovery drive of the race to Cade McKee. 9 laps on the alternate compound tyre at the start of the race after taking wing damage, and then doing 2 of the longest stints on the primary compound tyre in a row that we've seen in the entire race. 0.1 gallon of fuel left in his tank as we watch Austin Farr burn it down here at the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, I mean, once you take that wind damage early in the race, it can be very easy to sort of let your head drop and start sort of worrying about how far down the order you might fall from it. But I think what that shows is it's important to focus on what you can do about the situation. You know, he knew he wanted it off that, trying to get that fixed as soon as possible, but didn't want to have to take a third stop in the race, so extended it to lap 9, gave himself a little bit of fuel saving, but he was able to work with that, and a top 5 after that incident is really an incredible recovery.
Recovery drives, fantastic battles, and for our winner tonight, dominance. We got everything here at the Charlotte Roval, so how's about we run through your race results here from America's home for racing. Austin Farr is going to win from the pole position. That 5/1000th of a second difference, it really meant everything tonight because he got away in the first turn and never looked back. Lily Peltier Sharp will finish in second with Bruce Silva rounding out the podium, and our big mover tonight, Rudy Valentine from 15th up into 4th. It'll be Cade McKee up to the top 5. Nicholas Pressey finishes in 6th, and it'll be 7th with Christina Ryan, Lilac Zier 8th, and Alex Miller position number 9. Tucker Sawyer concludes the top 10. Just like that, Sawyer drives from 7th and has trouble late in that battle with our 11th place finisher, Eli Sasek.
Yeah, Bryce Sosia ends up being 2 laps down at the end of that race in 12th place. No drivers 1 lap down, which is definitely not what I expected to see. Everyone running into some sort of trouble outside that top 11. Kevin Feemster, Zach McBride, Bobby Blowers, Alex Martin and Mo Perry, all finishing a handful of laps down. Elias Flores, 10 down. Commentator, 20 laps down. And then Ruby Estes, Trade Forsyth, Brandon Cruz, Lily Fraser, Sophie Connell, and Emma Truder. 2 cars at the very bottom of the rankings there with fantastic qualifying positions that just slipped away so suddenly. That's the cruelty of racing sometimes, but the other side of that coin is the drivers flourishing from the back, like Rudy Valentin, Lilac Zier, Alex Miller. When one driver falls, another can climb up instead, I suppose.
Yeah, Rudy Valentin, the only driver tonight to completely escape the commentator's curse. Both mine and Olivia's picks both going out of the race in the first lap. So congratulations, David. You've very much won the battle of the picks for this week.
I was just hoping for that podium at the end, but it was a great battle. I'll tell you this much, Bruce Silva keeping up with the defense, and having that push to pass button bound is a big deal. Our winner didn't use it, but, that's a whole different story. Tell you this much, we'll have our top 3 talking with us very soon, and I think the first of which will be Bruce Silva coming through if we can get a word from our 3rd place finisher. It looks like right now Austin Farr and Lily Peltier Sharp are available for comment, so this time by, how about we start with your race winner?
We've got Brew.
We got Brew. There we go. Let's
Brew's
go
here.
second first then. Just wondering if we weren't going to get a comment? Now we have no problem, so how's about we bring in our 3rd place finisher, standing by Bruce Silva.
Hey, Brew, it's Taylor in the ABN booth. Can you hear us all right?
I can. Hi.
Congratulations on the 3rd place finish. The 3rd place finish there. Considering your qualifying position and the drivers who were starting in front of you, that must have come a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did, honestly. I knew I had some pace enough to be get a good finishing position. Instead of trying to push more, I just waited for opportunity or whatever. I knew it was going to be a race of attrition, and I knew there was going to be crashes. So, and it's a really hard track. So, yes.
You were also running a bit of an alternate strategy to the leaders. Both of those opting to take primary compound tyres for 2 stints, and then one of the alternates at the end. Does it perhaps feel like a little bit more was on the table today if you'd have gone for a different strategy, and how does that change your approach to race strategies going forward?
Yeah, maybe if I went with the default strategy, or if I qualified with primaries, I want to finish so well. My strategy was basically to qualify as front as possible, to have the fewest cars, not just for position, but to have the least trouble possible. Um, then after I pitted for primaries and made the stint as long as possible, I saved a little bit of fuel. And then since the temperature was also going down, then I went to with alternates since I shortened that stint, and I think it worked out in the end.
Yeah, very much so. Locking yourself up with a third place, good call on the strategy. But you came out of the pits quite late towards the end of the race, only doing 12 laps on those tires at the end, and you had a charging Rudy Valentin behind you who had already got their tires well warmed up by the time you came out of the pits. So how does it feel coming out of the pits on that fresher but colder rubber and then being chased down for the last spot on the podium at the end of the race?
Yeah, that was tough. I didn't know exactly how that was going to go. Um, I knew they weren't. I knew the tire they won, but since they pitted earlier, I figured maybe their tires would be worse by the end, so that relaxed me a little bit. Also, I had just a few push passes left, like 4 or 3 or something like that. So I tried to stay calm. I knew that it would be hard for them to overtake me in the infield, so I focused on getting a good oval, like the oval exits. That's where they would overtake me, if anywhere. So yeah, I just tried to keep calm, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, very much working out for the best for you there. Really impressive work holding off Rudy Valentin at the end of the race. But of course, adaptability is a huge part of racing these champ car machines. And the next round is Miami Speedway. So how do you prepare for that change of race format? Like, how do you prepare for going from a road course to a completely different monster in a super speedway?
Yeah, completely different. Well, I have been doing more oval races. I'm usually a road racer. Um, I'm still very new to the champ car in ovals, so my preparation will be, get used to the track. I know Homestead Miami already. I like that track, but I never raced in this. And then maybe do a official or two, get used to racing these on whatever track it is. And yeah,
Awesome to hear. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Congratulations on a brilliant race and an absolutely amazing finish. Is there anyone you want to thank or anything you want to say? The air's yours.
yeah, thanks. I want to shout out to, you guys at ABN for the amazing broadcast. And to DocBox, specifically my teammate, helped me a lot with the data and the practice. Sophie, probably would have gotten a podium without that. Like I knew what I was getting into today. So a lot of preparation that helped a lot.
It's awesome. Congratulations once again. Thank you very.
Thanks.
With our third place finisher on the move, just before, of course, we get on to our next interview, we're hearing there's a little bit of a comment regarding something in this race. Of course, in this particular instance,
Yeah.
Valentin, what's going on, Olivia?
So just a word from reporters post race on the pit wall there. Rudy Valentin's crew had to make an emergency wheel change on the grid, having some connection issues, getting the rim fired up, and as a result of that, did not have access to push to pass throughout the entire race there. So,
Wow.
unfortunately, a hardware issue, maybe costing Rudy Valentin a shot at a podium there. But given the scramble there, that becomes quite an impressive performance to hold on for P4. Like that is a composure in a difficult situation for sure.
A mechanical failure in sim racing. Maybe it is like real life.
With all things considered, glad for him it all worked out well till the very end. Unfortunately, wasn't able to grab the podium, but still a race worth remembering. Now on to a driver that definitely had night to remember. Starting in fourth, making it up to second, and we're going to have our second place finisher standing by. It's Lily Pelletier Sharp, and joining us in the ABN booth right now.
Hey, Lily, it is Olivia from the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, hear you loud and clear.
I think the word to describe that would be redemption. Definitely a season to get to this point, but a race to remember tonight. Taught us through it, an incredible qualifying position on the primary tires, and just setting sail from there. What was the secret?
A lot of practice last week, doing about 5 odd full race runs, and really sort of getting to grips with the primary tire. Because, if I'm being completely honest, the front just goes away too quick on the reds. They're usually a quick last few laps stint tire here.
That's fascinating. In the booth, we were thinking the red be a play, but that's that hot Carolina sun really showing its head.
Yeah, track was just too hot for it, and even if it wasn't, I felt actually more consistent on the blacks. Not only could I control the temperature more, it just, with the bars I ran, provided the best overall grip.
Well, that's great to hear. So, of course, driver for Gear Cats, a really unfortunate end to the race for your team principal Emma, but you were able to just run into second place on the back of that, and I'm sure having that support from the team ends up paying off a lot in a race like this, where, and especially trying to pay that back just to make sure the team gets something out of the race. I'm sure that was a very big factor in your running today.
Yeah, 100%, and keeping cool head as well, especially when stuck behind Nick for those early few laps. I thought I could try and felt I was getting held up a little bit, so really I kind of wanted to get past him quickly, which I did into the final chicane, try and pull a gap and close in on far, but we were just too even, so I decided to start chilling because there's no point pushing and just throwing away what could be a very solid result, trying to go for something that's just out of reach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an excellent run, a very composed run to bring home second place here at Charlotte. We head over to Florida next week for Homestead Miami, a much faster circuit. Obviously, the high banks. What's your approach going into that race? Are you back to testing immediately, or trying to enjoy this one? And how do you approach that race differently compared to this in terms of preparation?
Mainly because Homestead's an oval. Last time I was there, I had a really hard time controlling the right rear, which actually unfortunately led to me a spin and, at least as far as I could count, 10 flips on the back stretch. So after the Bathurst 12 and other leagues, I'm going to be straight on testing, just trying to control that right rear, make sure I can get my tools and stuff locked in without having to, panic and quickly do it on the fly next week.
Well, that's great to hear. A second place finish here tonight at Charlotte. Been very good to carry the momentum through. Congratulations on that. Is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out? The floor is yours. What do you have to say?
Really, I got Emma for just Gear Cats and the paint. Not sure if it showed up, but it should be chrome. It's kind of not, but that's a showing paint issue. But just having faith in me and allow me to do what I just did.
Well, thank you for joining us, Lily. Congratulations on that P2 finish, and have a good night. I know it's late over here.
Quarter 3. I don't have class in the morning, so I'm fine.
Have a good night.
You too.
And one thing I noticed when we were looking at the interviews, of course, great runs from every other driver we've spoken of. Take a look at the laps led category on the bottom of the screen here. Everyone else, except for this driver, has a 0. Clean sweep of every lap led from the pole position, and it's a victory. Not much else can be said besides backing up a surprise victory in Texas It was no doubt here in Charlotte. Austin Farr back to victory lane very soon, and you put yourself in with a dominant flag-to-flag completion of the Charlotte Grand Prix. Looked like nobody was able to touch you tonight, didn't even use a push-to-pass, and you kept yourself up there with nobody in sight. What was it like here in Charlotte, looking as you had full control from the Roval?
It was mostly just staying disciplined. I worked my butt off, getting pole position there, and because I knew with how narrow 2 and 3 are and how crazy it gets, that qualifying was important. And luckily, I put myself in a good position to lead from flag to flag.
And we saw how important those qualifying laps were. 5/1000ths of a second. And in a way, those laps were almost the most important of the entire race, because first 2 turns, the driver on your outside got taken out immediately, and that could have been, of course, you in that same position. So what was it like working those primaries? Because you started on the black wall tires instead of the reds, which a lot of the drivers took during qualifying. You had the primaries. So what was it like that led you toward that decision? Because it proved to be the winning call all throughout the race.
Yeah, I was running the old abacus in my mind, and I figured out that, it would take 2 stops, plus basically a half a stint to finish this race out. So I figured I'd just run my first 2 stints on the blacks and go as long as I can and save tires, save fuel, and kind of just manage my stuff. And then if it came down to it, the reds would be in that last stint. So figured it'd be the shortest stint to put the reds on. Yeah, luck. I don't know how I turned that lap on the blacks in qualifying. I don't know. I just got lucky, I guess.
Well, it looks like that luck really paid off in a big way here, because from then on out, nobody around you for the majority of the race. So it's tricky to say what was the challenge of your race, but what kept you up there? Building that gap. We saw, of course, strategy calls. We saw just keeping that lap consistency. You think there was anything in particular that really helped you on your way?
Just staying disciplined, just keeping a mental note of what's around me, remembering to breathe. Just watching the relative, letting the lap cars do their thing, and not forcing anything. Just the stuff that kind of keeps me alive for all the races I do. I try to come into each race with the same mindset of just making it to the end, and I think it worked out for me pretty well again here.
Making it to the end tonight, now back-to-back on the top of the podium. Homestead's up next. It's a much different track, but of course, you've come through with an oval before. You think there's a chance to perhaps go for the hat trick?
Yeah, sure, why not? Maybe we'll get lucky a 3rd time.
And looking to go for what could be 3 consecutive wins, Austin Farr. It's a Grand Slam performance here from Charlotte. If there's anyone else you'd like to thank, of course, the floor is yours. We finish off this broadcast.
Yeah, of course, everybody at Lead Pot Racing, you guys for putting on the broadcast. Awesome job as always. And everyone for watching.
And there we have it. Austin Farr puts on a show here in Charlotte and collects the victory from the Roval. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, y'all.
And what a win that was, because we're running the numbers back. It was a Grand Slam, which means not only was it every lap led from the pole, but the fastest lap time is what we're hearing as well. And to wrap off this race, we're going to give some final thoughts here, because this one's a lot to process in a good way. Action all throughout the track from the very beginning till the very end. And I don't think that's going to leave anyone with disappointment as we head on to our next race in Homestead in Miami. What a way to kick off, once again, the 2nd stint of the season. We had a 1-week break. It's great to be back, and I think this one was by far one of the most exciting performances to this point.
Yeah, David, pardon my ignorance for a second. I don't know if you have the phrase over the pond in the US, but what Austin Farr pulled off tonight is what we call a Grand Chelem. That is pole position, fastest lap, and led every single lap of the race. That is the sort of race that's only pulled off by greats. Super duper impressive drive from him, and definitely needs to be highlighted.
You only pronounce it like that if you're French. Come on.
It's a Grand Chelem, but
No, it's a Grand Slam. We already
it's a
covered
Grand
it.
Chelem.
I do want to mention though, got that fastest lap. Of course, still had push to pass in the pocket. Could have improved it, but got the fastest lap by 3/100ths of a second. So after stealing pole by 5/1000ths, very close margins on the grand whatever you want to call it.
Grand Chelem. But I think we've got to highlight, as Austin mentioned, we've got to highlight driver mentality tonight. We mentioned it briefly during, a few times during the broadcast, but he said it himself. He remembered to breathe, and he kept it out the wall and he kept it clean all race, because Charlotte bit hard tonight. We had a handful of retirements, including mine and Olivia's picks for this race, and overtaking was so risky because there were so few spots that you could make it work, and you were very quickly met by either a sausage curb or a really solid wall on the outside if you went in a little bit too deep. But it was the risk-taking drivers that very much made the most of it tonight. There were only a few drivers that we saw go up anywhere near 2 digits in terms of their on top of their starting position, even. But despite that, it was having complete control and calmness from Austin that won the day today. And even though that wasn't as exciting, it proved that Texas absolutely wasn't a fluke, and he could very much be a dual threat in the championship, all the way to the end. It was the first Grand Chelem this season as well. Grand Chelem. So keep a note of that and keep an eye out for any more of those from him this season. But there were some great battles throughout the field, some really interesting strategies, and it highlights just how awesome road racing is and can be. But saying that though, we are back to ovals next week. Fuel Saving, Dirty Air, and Slipstream Festival is back with 1,000,000 billion lines, which is just going to make it that much more exciting, and it's very much going to highlight a different skill set to what we've seen on show here tonight.
I don't want to pick on you here, but you insist on Chelem and then
Chelem.
say 1,000,000 bazillion or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
It's true though. It's a factual statement.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. And just talking about this last time we were out at Miami, we not only had those multiple lines being run, but strategy reared its head in a very big way. Fuel mileage ended up deciding that one. We go back there for season 5. Who knows what we'll see? Who knows who we'll see? It's going to be a very exciting race next week.
And it's going to be time to return to the ovals in their traditional form. Homestead has a few oval configurations, and they're pretty fun, but we're not going to be able to see them, at least for now, on the schedule. It's back to the full-on racing, hitting the left turns and hitting them quickly. However, when we wrap up tonight, it's going to be one to remember. An exciting race, and Austin Farr's dominance proves to be the big takeaway from the Charlotte Grand Prix. This has been, of course, coverage of the ABN Champ Car World Series, and if you haven't already, be sure to leave a follow on the channel here, ABN Esports, and maybe in a subscription. We'd love to have you here supporting the journey as we're now looking past 1,000 followers. It's great to have your immense support as 2024. The season's only just begun, and we got a lot of amazing action to bring to you from this point onward. I've been David Kreutz, alongside Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills, bringing you all of tonight's coverage from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we hope to have you join us whenever we return to the track. Next up, we'll be back next Wednesday indeed. It's going to be Homestead, and we can't wait to continue bringing you the Champ Car action exclusively on ABN. Thank you for watching tonight's broadcast, and we hope to see you there. This has been an exclusive production of ABN Esports.
Thank you.